Right, it's that time again. Betting Weekly Tennis Live. Mitch Michaels, Nigel Seeley here. All on the Because We Win social channels. You want to follow us there and you want to download the Bet Rivers app. Get in on the action. A lot of grass court tennis. It's that special time of year. Joined now by the man, Nigel Seeley. Nigel, welcome to the show. It's been a good time for the crew. Everybody's just picking winners on the grass. I think this might be the surface that we like the most right now.
It is. I think it's one of those times when you have the transition from the clay courts to the grass season. It's sort of one that I always find most profitable for me over the years I've done this. I've done this for many, many years now. This is a really, really good time for me. Also, it's a good time for Sean Calver, our senior ATP Tour handicapper here on the channel. He went with that brilliant week last week. He had Diallo and Bergs, 2 picks, both in the final. You don't really get that a lot. So if somebody's coming on here now thinking, oh, they're repeating that again, well, we're going to dine out on that for a long time because it's very rare that you get 2 finalists. And then today, starting off a new week, he's hit a sweep. A couple of nice plus money winners and a minus money winners with Michelsen, Shapovalov, and Lehechka to win the first set as well. So a really, really good time at the moment. And not only that, we had a 90-1 second in the US Open Golf with Robert McIntyre. Our futures are doing well as well at the moment, and the channel is just growing. It's got a little bit of a vibe about him. There's a feel-good feel about it. The summer's here. Everyone's quite happy, and we're cashing tickets. Doesn't get much better than that, Mitch.
It doesn't get much better than that. And yeah, we some of those matches too, like not just hitting the tournament winners, but going right into this week. Shapovalov, Ugo Humbert was the war. He's on the right side. Sean Calvert is of that. And then, the one that we targeted, I circled yesterday as one to watch was Yuri Lehechka. I've noticed too, Nigel, and you get into these times of the season when you change surface. Do you find that sometimes there's like the respect factor, like there's big favorites based on what they've done, but maybe not the form that they're in? Because I kind of thought with that number of Demonar and Lehechka that it was a little juiced up based on Demonar's resume.
Well, Demonar is obviously a player that we've adopted him over here because he's the boyfriend of Katie Bolton. We seem to adopt him as an adopted Brit. But he was the first person to complain about the schedule only 2 weeks ago, saying how tiring it was, how exhausted he was. He's played an awful lot of tennis. And when you look at all those things that he's saying, you sometimes listen to tennis players in the press conference and do you believe what they're saying, or do you take it, especially when Novak Djokovic talks about his injuries, you sort of take it with a pinch of salt. Yeah. But on this occasion, it was proven right. He does look absolutely jaded at the moment. He looks out on his feet. He's got Wimbledon in a couple of weeks' time, a tournament where he could potentially go quite deep. And I'm not quite sure whether he fancies these warm-up events. So it was a good fade. Obviously, you highlighted yesterday with Dustin on the show. You looked at that match as well, potential shock. It was a shock, but the manner of the defeat, I think, was a little bit, didn't perform at all today. And that's a concern for him going into Wimbledon, where when you think about Wimbledon, it would probably be right up there with his chances of a major where he can actually go deep or even potentially win it or get to the semi-final. With regard to Yannick Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz, they both won today, but they didn't put much of an effort in. They got some grass court action. They had chance. Both players they played had chances, but they got a professional job done. Yeah. And out of 10, 7 out of 10, round one, tick in the box, move on to the next round.
Yeah, of all the shot, and we're going to get to the live window in a second, but of all the maybe stunners or just things that maybe go whoa a little bit, I did look at that that Wimbledon champ, Vondrousova, beating Madison Keys in the manner she did. And I wondered, does that tell you more, Nigel, about Keys maybe not taking this serious, not being in form, or Vondrousova on this surface coming off of the rough years or 2 years she's had? Did she maybe find something in this match?
I think a little bit of both. I think if the truth would be known, I think a little bit of both. I think Madison Keys is still going to be a major force at the Wimbledon Championship. She's a major champion. She's got that sort of that first major offer back, and I think she's going there as one of the leading contenders. I remember many years ago, John McEnroe saying on the television, "You don't want to peak too soon going into Wimbledon. You want to do steady stuff, get to sort of maybe a quarterfinals in your last warm-up match, but just get some matches under the grass, get some activity, but don't peak too soon."
Right.
We certainly can say that about Madison Keys. Vondrousova is a former Wimbledon champion. She was probably disrespected in the market today. Is she back? I'm not quite sure she's back. She had a good day on a quick conditions in sunny England, but the weather over here can change and we can have a very, very different grass court championship come Wimbledon.
Certainly can. Yeah, last week was crazy. You had all the action going on across Hertogenbosch. You had Queen's Club, obviously, for the women, Stuttgart for the men. It was an interesting time. I saw one guy even say online, Nigel, that he's never going to bet on Alexandrova again after she blew 11 match points.
The same guy said he'll never bet on Rybakina again as well. I don't know who that guy is, but he's. I can guarantee you he probably will bet on him again. But that was the most wild match I've seen for years, Mitch. Probably one of the most craziest matches I've ever seen. I spoke about it in depth yesterday with Rory on the WTA show. But 11 match points and not converting one, but she's lost money to me, Alexandrova, in the past. She's a player that I can't read, and Raducanu, I mean, and I've said enough about her that I don't even want to give her a mention on this show anymore. She's cost me more money than anybody else. But we move on, and hopefully, and both of those players aren't in action this week, which means that I might have a good chance.
Could be. Well, I mentioned the live window. We've got final matches of the day all across the grounds. Halle is done in Germany, but in Queen's Club, we have the Moutet Fritz match going on right now with Fritz on serve up. Big favorite in that one, minus 715. Moutet serving at 15, all 4-5 down to try to stay in that one. In Berlin, it's Rybakina versus Krueger. Chen Wenzhang pulled out of the match, pulled out of the tournament last minute. So it's Ashlynn Krueger who beat Rybakina in Miami. Rybakina is up a set and a break in that one. Nottingham has a couple matches. It's Haddad, Maia, Kessler. Haddad, Maia up 3-love in the first set. And Star Dubseva against Buska. Buska's up 5-3, game away in set 2, a set, and 5-3 now at match point. So, Nigel, anything in the live window you're looking at?
Well, I thought Corentin Moutet may give Taylor Fritz some problems. I mean, he's the most awkward player to play against. You saw last week Tatiana Maria win the women's championship in London by slicing it and spins, and this is what Corentin Moutet is trying to do. He's trying to get into the head of Taylor Fritz, and at the moment it's not succeeding. Taylor Fritz is serving absolutely brilliant. He won the tournament, obviously, last week in Herzogenbosch. 15-30 on the Moutet serve. 4-5, so he's got his serving to take it into 11th match here. Minus 1,000. I thought that may be some potential, but we need to really see if Corentin Moutet can hold on to his serve here. But it's very difficult for the Frenchman to break Taylor Fritz. Taylor Fritz is serving exceptionally well. Where I do think there is a little bit more life in the match is the match between Beatriz, Haddad, and Kessler. Currently now, Haddad has got the early break. She's minus 335. Excuse me. She's up against Kessler is plus 240. The spread is 4.5, and the total here is 21.5. I think there is life in this match because I watched Beatriz Haddad last week, firsthand up against Emma Navarro. She took the first set. She was playing quite well. Navarro was playing awful in that first set. Navarro grounded her down because Beatriz Haddad made mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. And I don't think Beatriz Haddad is playing anywhere near the level of what she has done over the years. So I think there's a life in this match. I think Kessler here at plus 240 on the money line on the window is where I would be looking to play. Because what I saw last week, firsthand, Beatriz Haddad served a huge amount of double faults. She got very, very tight when she was serving out in the second set. She got into a battle in the third set, and she didn't really come through. And it was a flaky Navarro. Navarro's not playing well. So Kessler, currently with Bet Rivers at plus 240, I think is the bet in play here as we stand. You might want to take them plus 4.5 as well at minus 125 because I want to fade Beatriz Haddad in play now.
She has not been. It's funny. Haddad Maia at the start of the year was just atrocious in a lot of ways. Started to play a little bit better. You just don't know if that was just like the dead cat bounce, or are we seeing her turn the tide? Kessler's intriguing, right? Because this is really the tail end of her rookie year. She came onto the scene last year, wins the Cleveland tournament. We don't know what to expect on grass, but one thing I think you highlighted nicely there, Nigel, is that she fights. So a long match is something we've seen from her quite a bit, even in losing efforts.
It was last week. Beatriz Haddad in set number 1 was amazing against Navarro. It was a very, very poor performance by Navarro in set number 1. But as soon as Navarro got in the fight and she got the grit about, you can see the body language of Beatriz Haddad completely fade. And I took a big notable factor of me thinking that she is not somebody who will close out a match. And I think Kessler is well in this match. It's love 30 now on the Beatriz Haddad serve. So we've got the plus 240. The 4.5 is now 3.5, and it's love 30. So a break here for Kessler here, if she can do it, she'll probably be about plus 120. And then if she can hold serve, she wouldn't be far off being favored. So, but Beatriz Haddad has got serious problems. She served so many double faults last week, Mitch. It was unbelievable. And I don't think she's confident in her game at the moment. So McCartney Kessler in plays where I'm heading.
Any chance you could see Krueger making that Rybakina match a little interesting? She did just save a break point, Rybakina, to set. Now she's got game point. But
it's on my my screen here now, watching that match at the moment. But Rybakina is serving very well. So that, I mean, it's going to be very hard for Krueger to break the Rybakina serve. Obviously, when she's got an opportunity, she's got to take it. If she's not going to take the opportunity now, she's the only player in the women's game who, when she serves, she can go 8. She's hitting. I thought it was another ace there, but it wasn't. I don't see much of a shock here. Where I see the shock here is McCartney Kessler. The other match now, Corentin Moutet has held serve 5-5, but he just can't break the Taylor Fritz serve. So that's a worry for me. But he's definitely. He's trying to get into Taylor Fritz's head, but McCartney Kessler's broken. Ooh. So she's now plus 145 from plus 255. I thought 240. So it's now 3-2, even at plus 145. Honestly, Beatriz had him right. Is an absolute fade at the moment. She's not playing well.
All right, add her to the list then. Rybakina, I brought that up too. As of right now, as of yesterday, the number 2 favorite at Wimbledon. I think she's at the 3 spot maybe, but she's high on that list, and we'll see. I mean, Rybakina's won here again before. I think it just highlights the bigger picture, Nigel, that you don't really know what to expect with the futures market on the women's side for Wimbledon. So who can emerge and be Sabalenka the favorite? Hadn't won here before either. So who can really step up on the women's game is to be decided.
Well, I think the big problem with Wimbledon is that, unlike any real major, we don't really know what the weather's going to be like in London. I know we have the roof, but it changes the conditions completely. So a hot Wimbledon and a very, very hot condition. We're having a brilliant couple of weeks here in the UK. That will suit Rybakina. If it's a rainy, cold Wimbledon under the roof, I don't think that will suit us so much. And I think that's the difference. You have so many women here who need the conditions to be perfect for them. That's why there's so many shot winners. I think you can go through. You could go through 25. There's literally 20 contenders in the women's draw. I think Goff is a very interesting one. Obviously, she broke onto the scene at Wimbledon by beating Venus Williams all those years back. But really, would you say that grass? I don't think grass is her favourite surface. I think clay is her favourite surface. The slower, the better for her. But I think she's the interesting one to take out. Sabalenka looks like a Wimbledon champion, but she's got an awful record here. So I think the women's market is so wide open compared to the men, where there's realistically only 2 people who can win it.
Not 3, not Jack Draper. Not going to add him to the list just yet.
I think the pressure might get to him, and I think the other thing with Jack Draper, I think if he goes deep in a 5-setter in a hot conditions, I think his body isn't ready yet. I think his physique and his and the way he's had problems with his physicality and his body breaks down at key moments. I'll be worried about that.
Getting, you mentioned players that are focused, have stuff to play for, whether their head's in it before Wimbledon. I think getting that 4 seed, if he can get past Fritz in the rankings going into Wimbledon, that'd be huge to avoid the center.
I think he can win. I think he could win it. I think he can definitely win this week. Really, I think he's got a great chance to win this week. But I just think Wimbledon might be a little bit too early for him at this moment in time.
All right, let's look at some of the matches tomorrow, and we'll peek back into the live window here on Betting Weekly Tennis Live. Mitch Michaels, Nigel Seeley, all part of the Bet Rivers Network. Download the app and make some of these bets. It's just top flight advice. The boys are on a heater here, so you want to tail all these picks. Looking at Halle tomorrow, here's some of the matches tomorrow to look at. Michelsen, Tsitsipas. Tsitsipas is a solid favorite there. Shapovalov over Cabelli, who beat Yao Fonseca as an underdog, about that same number. You have Moroz and Mahach, and you have Rublev at Echeverry. So starting with Halle, Nigel, what stands out? Any matches that are intriguing for you?
I think the one that I would potentially bet is the plus 114 Michelsen to beat Tsitsipas. Of all the matches, I like to go to I like betting on the ones where they're quite close in the betting rather than the ones where they're not close in the betting. Michelsen has a 2-0 head-to-head record against Tsitsipas. He beat him in the Australian Open this year. He beat him in Tokyo and the Japan Open as well. And he's now up to his career high ranking. The other thing I like, and I've said this before on tennis shows that I've done on this channel many, many times, weeks before majors, players who are around about 34, 32, 31, 35 in the rankings want a big week so they can get seeded for Wimbledon. Currently, Michelsen is 33 in the live rankings. So a big week here will make him a seed for Wimbledon. And I think the motivation to be seeded at Wimbledon for him is massive. So I like Michelsen at plus 114. I looking at the market here now, Bet Rivers are the best price in the land on Michelsen at +114. If you want to take it now, because I've got a sneaky feeling he might start minus money. Tsitsipas on grass is someone that I don't want to be trusting. He's not a grass court player for me. His grass court record is pretty average, but Michelsen has got all the attributes to be a decent grass court player. He's had a good run recently, up the rankings. Hasn't a good run in recent weeks on the grass, but against Tsitsipas, a player he's beaten twice before, and he beat him this year at a major. I think, and he's got the motivation to wanting to win because of that seeding. I think that would be where I'll be looking at +114.
Big win over Serundolo today for Michelsen. That Australian Open match wasn't really close. And yeah, Tsitsipas. I know he's working with Goran Ivanisevic now, but first unseeded tournament for him since 2018. So he is at a lower point, I think it's safe to say. So that's a good one to target. He's got
his OnlyFans site now, hasn't he, with Paula and Badosa? I'm sure he might be getting some more money out of OnlyFans than he did. I know. I was reading the tweets. I knew it would be fake, but he might be that might be where his concentration is rather than the tennis game at the moment.
Could be looking already ahead to the U.S. Open mixed doubles exhibition that they're all playing in. And I don't know about playing with a partner. I don't know if that's a good idea, but we'll see. London, Queen's Club tomorrow. A lot of good action to highlight. Dan Evans, fresh off of beating Tiafoe, takes on Nakashima, Poprin, Draper, and then Holger Rune versus Mackie McDonald. So you got some big favorites, some big prices there. There you see the game spreads and the over-unders. Always a little difficult, Nigel, looking at matches when you have so many favorites there. But is there an underdog that you think could make that match interesting tomorrow in London?
Well, it's going to be very hot tomorrow in London. It's going to be one of the hottest days of the year, so the conditions are going to continue to be very, very hot. The one underdog I think could cause a shock or could make it competitive is Dan Evans. I think Dan Evans could give Nakashima a match here. They met last year in the first round here, and it was 1-all, and then Dan Evans had to pull out injured going into the final set. Evans has beaten him before in Paris on a quick indoor court. They played in Washington. Nakashima won that one, but Dan Evans is a player that loves the big occasion. He's a player that I wouldn't trust him at all in a 250 or a 125 in Prague or a Estoril or anywhere around the world other than at home. But he is going to be very, very heavily supported. I think that he will rise to the challenge. And this is potentially probably going to be his last year. I think maybe this year or maybe next year will be one of his last years. So if you're looking for a dog tomorrow, I believe that he has has a chance to run Nakashima very, very close. So that would be my dog that I think tomorrow. With regards to the other ones, I think Jack Draper will win very easy. Very, very. He looked really good today, didn't he? He looked exceptionally good.
He did over Brooksby. Yeah.
I know he didn't really have much to play, but I think he'll progress fairly comfortably. And I think Holger Rune should be McDonald. McDonald's is in awful form coming to this tournament, and he's had a really, really bad year. He's come through qualification with a couple of good wins, beat Gael Monfils, beat Searle, the young guy, the British guy who won he won, I think it's the Junior French Open. Kovacevic he beat as well, but I think Holger Rune would be too strong for him. So the dog I like to keep it competitive, maybe on the spread, maybe over 2.5 sets, but whichever way you want to go with it, I think Dan Evans may give Nakashima a bit of a match tomorrow.
And one of the few guys, Nigel, that said, "Hey, stop complaining about the schedule." Was like, "What is everybody talking about?" It's fine.
It's like this show. People keep moaning about me about how much work they're doing, and I'm going to stop complaining about the schedule. And I'm the one who comes on most. I'm the one who you don't want to make this. It's when people aren't, when you're not playing, and when you retire, you're long time retired. So you want to get the work we do. I do think the schedule is difficult, but these players don't have to play these. They can take time off, and they have to play obviously the 1,000 events, but they don't have to play everyone they do.
I kind of like the theory. I don't know if it was Roddick or somebody that said maybe you just backload some of the 250s towards the end of the year, because I agree you don't want to take away tournaments, and you don't want to take away tournaments not just from the players to earn, but for people to see tennis live. But maybe you can reconfigure the schedule so if you are a top player that's burnt out or going deep, you don't have to play as much end of the year. So I don't know if there's a fix, but yeah, it's.
I think the problem is that the majors are always at you have straight into the Aussie Open straight away. Then you have the Wimbledon and the French Open back to back, and then you have the American hardcourt series, then the US Open. I suppose you could. I think there should be a bigger break between the start of the season and then the Australian Open. The Australian Open start in February would be a good start. 3 or 5 little games to get straight in, and then maybe bring the Australian Open, the push the US Open back a little bit. But
they want it during Aussie Day, though. That's the problem. Is like then you're not during the Aussie Day.
But it's always been a sport that has always had a problem with schedules ever since I got involved in it years ago. This is not new. This is an argument that's been going on for a long, long time. But I think just make sure that you don't some of these tournaments you pick and choose your calendar a little bit, and don't go for the ones where you get offered prize money to turn up at these events where you probably don't need the prize money.
That's a very, very good point. Looking at some of the women's matches tomorrow, I want to look at Nottingham first before we get to Berlin. But in Nottingham, you have 3 matches here. Francesca Jones taking on Liudmila. You've got Rusick Yastremska, and you've got Blinkova Tauson. Nigel, I'm going to toss over to you because that's going to be, we got leg 1 on this board of your daily double. So I know it's going to be a women's centric daily double, but what's the first part of it?
It is. Well, first of all, I want Noshkova to win because I've better to win the tournament. Got quite lucky in their opening round. She was very fortunate. Didn't play very well. It was more of a risk. I took a risk on her because I thought it was a very weak field, and her grass court form isn't that great. So my first leg of my daily double is in the match between Blinkova and Clara Tauson. And I like Blinkova here. I like her plus 2.5 games. I quite like her on the money line. I will be betting her on the money line, but for the sake of this bet, I'm going to bet her plus 2.5 games. She's got a fairly decent grass court record, the Russian. I mean, she's played 51 matches, 26 wins, 25 losses, which is pretty good. And there's a lot of people who haven't got some great records. At Wimbledon, a couple of years ago, she got beat by Sabalenka in the 3rd round, but got through to the 3rd round. She's gone deep at Wimbledon. And she's got a big serve. She played exceptionally well today against Rakimova. I think that's how they pronounce it. 6-2, 6-3. Very easy win there. Last week in Herzegovina, she got beat by Alexandrova, which wasn't, and I know Alexandrova failed to take 11 matches, but she had won that tournament twice before. So that wasn't a bad loss.
Right.
And she's up against Tauson, who I believe is a fade on grass. I am not at all convinced that Clara Tauson is a grass court player. I think she's much better suited by the clay. Her record on grass is, it's not good at all. I mean, she did win her last match against Birel, but Birel bottled it, really. Last year, she didn't win 1 match on grass. 3, lost them all. And in her career, she's only won 3 of 10 matches on grass. And you've got Blinkova, who's a much, much better grass court player. So Blinkova, for me, is the first leg of my daily double. I wouldn't put anybody off betting her at plus 140 on the money line. I think she can beat Tauson, but I'm playing a little bit conservative. I'm going for her plus 2.5. And the other reason I like this, Mitch, is if you look at the head-to-head between the two of them, it's 2-1 to Tauson. Tauson needs 2-1, but they have met once before on grass. Admittedly, it was in 2021 at Bad Homburg, which is a fast grass court, and Blinkova won it 7-6, 4-6, 6-2. So she has the advantage of beating Tauson on a grass court before. The 2021 was the year Tauson was playing well before she had injury. So it was a good Tauson. She was, it was a good version of what she was, and Blinkova beat her. So I think the grass court form stacks up, and I'm going to go for Blinkova here, plus 2.5, but I wouldn't put anybody off betting her on the money line at plus 140 with Bet Rivers.
We'll get to the other leg of your daily double in a second, but a lot happening in the live window right now. You have Moutet up in the tiebreak 5-2. So he's closing in on the first set. A big pull there for Moutet. He's now plus 138 on the money line.
That looks a big price, 138 Moutet. I mean, that does. You've also got the
grass court tennis. That's the thing too. Like, I just don't, I think Fritz, we've seen this story before a lot, right? Where the top player with a big serve will just figure out a way to just win in 3.
Well, the other problem you got with Fritz is he won last week, and I always like to fade people who had a big week last week because he's going to get a bit tired. It's a hot day. It's a hot week last week. He went really, really deep. The fresher player. He's in a fight. Does he really want to fight? He had to win last week. So Moutet is actually now plus 150. I think Moutet is probably a little bit of a better plus 150. I mean, you got to think that Fritz's form going into last week was awful, really, on the year, and he managed to win the tournament, played some great tennis, but now he's won it. Is the inspiration there? I don't know. I think Moutet could be a little bit of a betting play there.
Could be. It's 5-4 now in the tie break. Diallo Harris starting. Diallo fresh off his tournament. The last
another one who won last week. Another one who
and
that's going to be difficult because Billy Harris is going to have a lot of support. He's a very, very good player who's used to playing on grass. 2-1 around about that kind of price for Billy Harris is a big price. Very difficult to go deep, especially for a Diallo who's never done that before. You know, it was his maiden grass court win.
Maiden title.
Maiden title. It's going to be hard for him to bounce back.
Fritz got the mini break back. They're 5-all now, so 3 points straight for there on that one. And then the women's matches. So you have Haddad, Maia, Kessler have traded breaks of serve like 3 in a row. They're 4-all in that first set now with Haddad and Maia serving. I think Kessler did hold a serve, so she stopped the break fest there. And then Krueger gets back on serve against Rybakina. So the women's matches, Nigel, tightening up here at the end of the day.
Well, that's good. That's what we want. We want Mckenzie Kessler to win here, plus 255. Looking good in that one. I tell you what, honestly, Haddad Maia has got a bit of the yips at the moment. Her serve, trust me.
I will say too, my bias showing, I think Krueger has potential. I don't know that I'm not going to pick her to win and come back and win this match, but I think long term she's an American player that I'm backing. So we'll see. We'll see how this one shakes out too.
She's 15-30 and the Rybakina serve. Rebecca's, she's.
Wow, Fritz is going to win this set. Wow, he's got the serve for it. 4 straight. Now he gets the set point on his serve. Well, I guess he wants to be there. I guess he wants to be there.
What a load of rubbish I just said 5 minutes ago. What a load of rubbish.
Let's look at Berlin to fill out the second half of the daily double. You've got Sabalenka, Masarova, Samsonova, Pegula is a slight underdog as Samsonova, and then Paulina Jabeur, a matchup of Wimbledon finalists there. Looking at who you want in this one, there's a lot of options here, but I think I know where you're going. And how are you gonna finish off the daily double?
Well, I think I think Sabalenka might struggle a little bit against Masarova because I think it's very hard to transition. As I've said many times, we saw today that both Alcaraz and Sinner playing deep in the French Open. Both their matches went over. That could be a potential over total matches, but that hasn't made my shortlist. Jabeur, I mean, I'd love to see Jabeur win, but I think that's a tough one. 2 pocket rockets going at each other. I think that's a difficult one. I don't think I can play that one. But I'm going to go with Samsonova here. Again, I quite like on the money line, but I think plus 2.5 against Pegula is a bet because I know Pegula's the defending champion here, and I know that she's a player that likes it quicker. But I watched Samsonova today against Naomi Osaka, and she fought back from losing the first.
That was a great match.
She played really well, and I thought the third set she was absolutely excellent. And her serve is a force to be reckoned with in quick conditions in grass. She's got a deficit of 4-1 in the head-to-heads against Pegula, including a bit of an embarrassment the last time they met in Dubai, where Pegula won 6-love, 6-4. But they've only ever met once before on a grass court in Wimbledon in 2021, and Samsonova won it 6-4, 3-6, 6-3. So again, I'm going with the grass court form. I know Pegula has won this tournament, which is a grass court tournament, but I just think Samsonova is the better all-round grass court player. I think it means more to her this week, and I believe what I saw today, I thought she played really, really well, and she went in my notebook as someone who I thought could do well at Wimbledon if she plays like that. She had some strapping on her leg, which was a bit of a concern, and we saw her last week get beat early on. In Herzogenbosch, I think it was, and she won that tournament, so she was a defending champion, and she got beat early on. But I've forgiven her for that win. I'm also better at 50-1 to win this tournament, which anybody who watched the WTA show will know that we better. So I'm going to stick with Samsonova. I'm going to go with Samsonova plus 2.5 at minus 120. So the daily double will play plus 255.
All right.
So it's Blinkova plus 2.5. And against Tauson, and Samsonova plus 2.5 against Pegula, and that plays plus 255 with Bet Rivers. And I think I like them both on the money line as well. If you want to be more daring, a bit more daring than me, take them on the money line. But I do quite like that.
Hey, the win streak is the win streak. You didn't get this far by just being too aggressive. You got to just stay the course, and that's playing the spread. It's plus 250, great payout. You're backing players that have the experience and also look like they're in form. So I like it. We're going 2 different tournaments, 2 WTA matches for your daily double.
Yeah, I'm going to bet Billy Harris to beat Diallo as well here. I'm just actually doing it as we speak here. I think the plus 180 is a big price.
Yeah.
I'm just watching it here. I mean, there's still quite a decent crowd there. They're cheering him on. Usually, when it's a bit more conservative than the US Open in New York. But people come home from work now and they go into the court and they've had a few pims, and the British crowd get behind them. And we see, I mentioned it to you with the French crowds on the final court. There's no other match. There'd be a Brit playing. And I think Diallo, having won last week, I think he might be a little bit vulnerable. So I think that Billy Harris may give Diallo a little bit of a shot there. So I'm going to go with that as well. So they're my in-play picks for today, Mitch.
Yeah. McCartney Kessler, the other one in that match is 5-4 in the first set, topsy-turvy first set. Is it McCartney Kessler, you like her game, but also is it, Nigel, I got to ask, because of the name McCartney, does that have anything to do with it?
No. No. I'm trying to think of someone. Lennon. Is there?
I don't think so. If there
Harrison,
is, though, no.
Is there Harrison?
Yeah,
and that's definitely not a Ringo Starr text. No, but I look at my betting a lot of it, and what it is that I have a negative for a particular player. I don't necessarily have a positive for McCartney Kessler. But what I saw from Beatriz Haddad, as I've said numerous times in this show last week, last week, I was worried about it. I was worried about her serve. I worry about under pressure. And I sort of I have an opinion about the opponent rather than the player we're watching. And she definitely doesn't look at it to me. So if she can make it competitive and make this tight, I think she'll come through.
Before we go, 2 matches, 2 odds that just came down the pipe in the time we started on Bet Rivers early action. Mensik takes on Bautista Agut, RBA, a little veteran there. The spread on that one, and I want to get your opinion, Nigel. 2.5 games for Mensik to cover -2.5. That's -125. And then Navarro Badosa, it's Navarro plus 125, Badosa -157. So thoughts on those two?
The first one, Mensik against Bautista Agut. I spoke to a lot of pro gamblers this week, and they all quite like Mensik to go deep in this tournament. It was 25-1 with Bet Rivers at the start, and they thought that was a big price if he can serve well. The trouble is he's so heavily reliant on his first serve. Other than that, he doesn't really have much, and his all game isn't that great. Sean Calvert actually has a bet on that match, on Betting Weekly Game Bet match, which you can watch if you watch the show. He's got an opinion on that match, and it's not an opinion that many would agree with. He's going a little bit against the field. He's not saying Bautista Agut can win it, but he thinks he can give him a game. With regards to the next match, Navarro against Badosa. I mean, honestly, Betting Weekly Live tomorrow could be on. That match could still be going on. That just looks like a long match. It looks like match is going to have many double faults, lots of aces, lots of swings and roundabouts. They've met twice before, 1 win apiece. The last match they played in the US Open was a 6-2, 7-5 win for Navarro. In Rome, it was a long match. Navarro, if she plays like she did last week at Queen's Club, she hasn't got a chance. But if she played like she did against Kostyuk, she'll win it easy. And that's the twist.
It's a big range.
Yeah. And she's so inconsistent. I mean, she can be look a top 10 player, which she is. Well, I think she might just be outside the top 10, but she looked like a very capable top 10 player, or she could be look like someone who shouldn't even be in the top 50. And the same can be said for Badosa. And with Badosa, it's whether she's on Instagram with the boyfriend taking pictures or she fancies this match. So I'm going to go over the games on that one. That would be my lead.
Same wavelength. Over 21.5 is -124 on the Bet Rivers app. It's not a steep price to pay it off.
McCartney Kessler, before we go, 5-5. Beatriz had a mile. Love 40 on her serve. As I said, she went flaky. -157 now, McCartney Kessler. We've got +240. Come on, McCartney. Love me do. You get a music performance on this show too. But just hold serve a couple times, like 3 or 4 times, and you're going to be in a good shape based on where Haddad Maia is. Well, Nigel, this was a blast. Again, everyone make sure they download the Bet Rivers app. Make all your bets on Bet Rivers. Follow us on the Because We Win social channels. And follow this show again. We got another episode, 1 o'clock Eastern on the Bet Rivers network. It's going to be Betting Weekly Tennis Live. Nigel, what else we got going on in the week to follow? Oh, we got lots. We got Betting Weekly Live every day with this World Club Cup Championship. I think it's the World Club Cup Championships over stateside, the soccer tournament. Lots of you tuning in every day at 11 o'clock Eastern time to watch that. We've got Doug Kazarian and the team looking at Betting Weekly Hardball and Betting Weekly Fast Break with the NBA and also on the MLB. And, lots of stuff as well. Sean Calvert's at the tennis. You can follow him on our socials at Because We Win. And obviously, Betting Weekly Game Bet Match will be back tomorrow. And Betting Weekly WTA. And everyone's on fire on the channel. We're making lots and lots of money. Hopefully, you enjoy it. But the one thing we need, Mitch, we need 10,000 subscribers to the YouTube channel before Wimbledon or during Wimbledon at the very match. So with your help, anyone watching this, if you enjoyed the content, please hit that subscribe button. That's what we want.
Subscribe, watch, make money. It's that simple. This was a blast, always is. For Nigel Seeley, I'm Mitch Michaels. This was Betting Weekly Tennis Live. Same time tomorrow. Enjoy the tennis. Enjoy all the grass court action. Make some money. And we'll talk to you soon.